My name is Tom Kay. I'm the Executive Director Emeritus of the Conclave. If you know Latin, you know that the word emeritus means old fart. This presentation is kind of sad and then turns happy because in 1988, Wisconsin owner GM and Conclave board member Mike Rockwell perished in an auto accident while returning home from one of his many volunteer efforts. The next summer, the Conclave created the Rockwell Award, an annual honor created to recognize individuals who give the greatest possible gift, the gift of themselves, through mentoring. In an industry not particularly well known for formalized training or career development programs, Rockwell recipients have selflessly provided guidance and inspiration to aspiring broadcasters, allowing them to play pivotal roles in bettering radio in communities of all sizes. This year, the award returns to its Wisconsin roots to recognize the incredible career of one of that state's and this industry's premier owner, operators, and human beings. To formally introduce Duke Wright to you this morning, may I present to you the Vice President of Midwest Communications and my longtime friend, Jeff McCarthy. Just to be clear, we have a lot of VPs. For those of you who know Duke, he's a man of many words. So we have a brief video we'd like to play for you, and then we will bring Duke up to the stage.
I can remember listening to the radio when I was 3 or 4 years old, the big console radio in the living room long before television, and just marveling at where are those voices coming from.
Welcome back to News and Views. Good to have you here with us on the Mighty 790 KFGO. He is in the house. Duke Wright, the new owner of the Mighty 790 KFGO with Midwest Communications, whose home base is out of Wisconsin. Duke calls Green Bay home. Do I call you Mr. Wright? Do I call you boss? What do I call you?
Anything you want.
Okay, let's call you Duke.
Hey Duke, Scott Walker here. Congratulations and thanks for making Midwest Communications one of the great businesses here in Wisconsin.
When Duke was inducted into the Wisconsin Broadcasters Hall of Fame, it was the year 2000. Now, any year since, he could have come to Minneapolis to receive the Rockwell Award, but he's been so busy acquiring radio stations he couldn't break away for a day. Duke Wright, with a radio count of 73 stations today. Duke Wright, a lover of radio and a lover of the people who create great radio.
Why did you buy us?
Because you're a great radio station. This is a great community. It's a great state. And my wife's from Lisbon.
So the Lisbon thing was the one that pushed it over the top.
That was it.
So let's start out with Frankie's Million Seller, Just Because.
Duke got inducted into the Wisconsin Polka Hall of Fame for all his many recordings he did in this area. And also, the biggest thing that Duke did, and his biggest contribution in central Wisconsin, was he recorded the very first rock and roll 45 in the state of Wisconsin called Rock and Roll Saddles. Duke, I'm so proud of you, and congratulations today on your award.
Hi, I'm Barbara Bridges, brand manager of WJXA and WNFN here in Nashville. Along with CJK, we are the Nashville branch of the Midwest family, and we're here today to say congratulations to Duke. Woo! On this great honor. We're so excited for you. The whole company is so proud of you. And if you've ever met Duke Wright, you know he's an amazing man, very passionate about radio, very gifted, very intelligent, and a great person and very deserving of this award. So we're excited about that. And congratulations, Duke, from all of us in your Nashville family.
Hi, Duke. This is Jerry Lee. From one independent operator to another, congratulations on receiving the Rockwell Award. You have mastered the key to the future of radio. It's all about being local and having the best talent on the air. Your enthusiasm for radio is off the charts. Congratulations.
Hey Duke, Shadow Stevens, legend in my own mind and on 63 different planets. Thanks for buying all those radio stations in my home state, North Dakota. great taste, extraordinarily high IQ. Did you know that North Dakota has some of the most beautiful women in the world? It's in the Guinness Book of Records, but you knew that. Thanks for building probably the last great radio empire. Radio industry is better because of you. The world is better because of you. I myself am better because of you, and I don't even know why. Congratulations on receiving the Rockwell Award. You make us proud.
When I was a kid, I had two favorite Dukes, Duke Snyder and the Duke of Earl. Today, I only have one, and it's you, Duke Wright. Duke, I've always said that it seems like the greatest broadcasters are also the greatest people. That's certainly the case with you. I am proud to be your friend, proud to honor you tonight as you receive the Rockwell Award. No one deserves it more, and I'm just thrilled that you're a part of our industry. Congratulations, Duke.
Him, and mankind is better because of him. It's my pleasure to introduce a great friend, Duke Wright.
I saw something today that I rarely see, and I don't remember if I've ever seen it before. Jeff McCarthy in a suit and tie. You know, when Tom mentioned something about old farts, it brought to mind a story about Minnesota radio. Southern Minnesota, particularly the city of New Ulm, is home to a lot of the Dutchman-style polka bands of the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, such as the Six Fat Dutchmen, who recorded for RCA Victor, and Whoopie John Wilford, who used to have his own show live on Saturday nights on WCCO, the band from the old American House Hotel in St. Paul. But anyway, in those years, the guys that were on the air had to be very, very careful about what they said on the microphone because things were a lot tighter in those years than they are now. But they found a way, particularly on New Ulm's KNUJ, of announcing tunes by the Whoopie John Band. And it went like this. And now Whoopie John will fart, and his band will play. That's creativity in the beginning of the Howard Stern era. Okay, you get up and speak, and you got so many people that you'd like to say thank you to for making this award possible that I've tried to cut it down to about 572 with a little biography of each one. We'll do that next year. I just want to say thanks to Lori, who used to work for us, as a matter of fact. That had nothing to do with me getting this award. And who has done a terrific job of reviving the Conclave. Terrific program, absolutely terrific program this year. Wonderful. To the entire board of directors of the Conclave, to my parents who were unwavering in their support of me over the years, letting me live in the basement until I was 41. Matter of fact, my son Jeff has said to me, he said, I'm the luckiest guy in the world because I'll never get fired. Because, if I do, I'm coming home to live in your basement. So in any case, we have a lot of family members here today, and I want to thank them for all coming and being so supportive. I'll just take a minute to introduce a few of them. The North Dakota girl, the reason for KFGO, who listened to that station when she was a little girl, incidentally, my wonderful wife, Peggy. Our daughters, Mary Kay and Angela. Sons, Michael and Jeffrey. Our granddaughter, Juliana. The newest member of our family to join the company. After graduating from, I wanted her to go to the University of Wisconsin, but she said their football team isn't good enough. So she went to Alabama. And I said, wonderful, now I got another team to root for. And she's working for us in promotions in Nashville. So in any case, I also want to thank all of our wonderful employees. We have a lot of people that have been working for our company over 30 years. Some over 40. And they soon will be awarded a plaque for being 100 years old and still on the air. Actually, we had one guy that did make it to age 95 on the air. Retired for 2 or 3 months and said, I can't stand this, I'm coming back part-time. And he stayed another 30 years. Eddie Jason, he was one of the most unforgettable characters I've ever met. Oh, was that guy full of knowledge? You could tell you what the heck happened in 1941 on before Pearl Harbor. It was way back. So in any case, our employees have really made this happen. And a couple of other of our board members that are here. Of course, Jeff is our Vice President of Programming. Peter Tans is our, does he have a title? He's our Executive Vice President. Paul Ronmo, our CFO. And all of these people, along with our staff, are just terrific. One of, I'll tell you, you have a few things when you've been in a career for a long time that you remember that make you feel kind of good about stuff. And one of them is when the Great Recession hit us in 2008, we never laid off one person. We never cut them. And I'm really proud of that. It just makes me feel good that every time I think about it. Well, I guess that's about all I have to say. Can somebody remind me what my middle name is? So I would like to comment about a few of the people that were on our staff over the years that went on to become very, very prominent in the radio industry, starting with Kipper McGee. Kipper, as a matter of fact, is from the Manitowoc area, which is very close to Green Bay. And he worked for us at KIOA in Des Moines when we owned it, as our general manager. And he went on to great stations in San Diego, St. Louis, Orlando. And then he had a gig at a little Chicago station for a while that had something I sure as heck wished I could have someday, a 3-letter call, WLS. That's still on my list of things I'd like to be able to do, to get one of those 3 letters somewhere. Kipper did a terrific job for us. Dan Kiley, who worked for us at KDWZ FM in Des Moines, went on to Chicago to KDWB in the Twin Cities, and then to KISS in Los Angeles. Terrific program. As Kipper. These guys were tough to be against, and I was glad they were on our side. Mike Moore, WSIX in Nashville, currently programming for Intercom in Portland. Wendy Paulson, we hired her from KFGO before we owned it. And she worked for us in Green Bay programming WGEEAM. And from there went directly to WCCO in Minneapolis as their program manager. Rod Phillips worked for us at WIFC in Wausau. Currently in charge of the iHeart Country division based in Nashville. Bill Klaproth, you can believe this, from the Iron Range of Minnesota to WLUP Chicago. I don't know how in the world we ever got him to work for us on the Iron Range. Wow. Andrew Ashwood. How many of you guys knew Andrew Ashwood? There was an interesting guy, I'll tell you. He was one of those guys that after he left us, everywhere I looked, he was. I'm driving home one night, listening to CBS Radio News, and they go to Miami, and Andrew Ashwood. I pretty near hit the ditch. He was working at WQAM in Miami at that time. There was some sporting thing that day. I got comments from him. I've been to a couple of Super Bowls, and each time, when I walked into the lobby of a hotel, the first guy I ran into was Andrew Ashwood. Watching television during the World Series, I believe, they're showing Bud Selig's box, the commissioner of baseball. The door opens and out walks Andrew Ashwood. I'm thinking, holy cow, man. And later on I saw him and he told me what really happened. He said they were up there and they got into the wrong box by accident. And they were throwing him out, and they took he and his nephew and escorted them out of the stadium. So things aren't always what they appear to be. Oh my. Lori Lewis, Midwest Digital in Green Bay, Fred Jacobs, Detroit, the National VP of Social Media for Cumulus and Westwood One. Fantastic. And there's just one more that I want to mention. Anybody in here ever hear of Gene Oberlin?
Mean Gene.
Mean Gene. Yeah, and what is he best known for? Rasmus, yeah. This guy came up in the early 1960s to our radio station in Wausau. He was traveling with a rock and roll band that was playing throughout the Midwest, and they had a gig in the area. And he came up to record the ad for the event that he was playing at. And I listened to him and said, this guy's good. Wow. You know, normally these guys don't come in. They have a heck of a time remembering their name the next morning after a gig. But anyway, he comes in and he's terrific. And I told him, I said, why don't you quit the band and come work for me full time? And he did. He was easily convinced. I don't know. And he was with us a few years. And during that time, I remember one particularly interesting episode where we got an FCC inspection. And in those years, you had to keep a transmitter log and make entries every half hour. Plate current, plate voltage, the antenna current, and frequency. There, I got them all out. So the inspector walks into the control room. Gene's on the air. And Gene was a little overdue with doing the readings. As a matter of fact, he hadn't entered one for 3 weeks. I remember the inspector was T.E. Kangas in the St. Paul office. And he was a nice guy. A lot of those FCC inspectors in those years had been in the radio business before, and they knew what the heck was going on in the real world, I'll tell you. But in any case, T.E. and I had a little discussion outside, and we never even got written up for it. But I did not tell Mean Gene that. I told him that sometime within the next 3 weeks, there's going to be some footsteps up the stairs to our second floor lovely studio facility, and it'll be the federal marshals coming to get you. And I thought I'm going to let this burn a while so he remembers it before I told him that there wasn't any trouble. But just a funny guy. And when he was with us, he went to Flint, Michigan after he left us, there to North Carolina, there to the very, very big top 40 station at that time in Omaha, which was KOIL, K-O-I-L. From there, right over here to Minneapolis, St. Paul, the stores is WDGY, it's Gene Leader. And he still lives in Minneapolis today. Then he got in the agency business and doing the wrestling thing and a few other things. But in any case, he used to come back to Wausau to visit occasionally because he married a gal from Wausau. Incidentally, their son was on the 1980s U.S. Olympic team for hockey. But in any case, he'd come back. And one Friday afternoon, he came up to the studio and he said, "Hey," he said, "let's go across the street to the Five and Dime bar and have a beer." And I said, "Well, where's your wife?" "Oh, she's out shopping." I said, "Come on, Gene, you know, the minute that we go over to that place, she's going to come in and you're going to take off." "Heck no," he said, "there's no way that's going to happen. I wear the pants in my family." So I said, "Okay." We went over to the Five and Dime. The guy poured us 2 beers. We didn't even start drinking them, and his wife came in. And he looked at me and he said, "Well, gotta go." All of us have worked with some interesting people, to say the least, over the years. And I didn't even know he was doing that wrestling thing. I was still playing in a band myself. We were playing wedding gigs on Saturday nights. And we took a break and went down, and they had wrestling on in the bar room at the venue we were playing at. And I looked up at the screen and thought, "That's Okerlund, for crying out loud. What's he doing on wrestling?" He'd say, "What do you think of that, Crusher?" The guy's face, you know, wow. He was a talented guy, there's no doubt about it, but wow. So in any case, just being a little retrospective, first of all, I had not seen that video before right now. And I don't know what the hell they did to bribe those guys to say that stuff. I was thinking, they can't be talking about me. Wow. Anyway, I've loved radio since I was 4 years old. And I remember a few incidences from that tender age. My parents would listen to a news show every evening. This, of course, was before TV. I don't think they'd even invented FM then yet. But in any case, and it was broadcast on the Mutual Radio Network and on WGN in Chicago, where we were in central Wisconsin in Wausau. And WGN didn't always come in the best. It was cracky and statically a lot. And I'm a little kid, and I'm fascinated with these voices coming over the air from all over the place called radio. And I wondered why in the world my parents were listening to that staticky broadcast every evening from WGN. I later found out what it was when I was old enough to understand it. During World War II, there was a time period when it looked as though the Allies might lose the war. Can you imagine what that would have been? We'd all be speaking German today. But in any case, America was kind of on edge. And a newscaster, a guy by the name of Gabriel Heater, came on the Mutual Network every night and started his broadcast with, "There's good news tonight," and would relate positive stories about what had happened the past day. And this guy really helped America, I think, get through that very dark period of World War II. And that was via our medium, radio. Radio, with the power of sound, can control emotions, can sway people and move people to do all kinds of things, to feel good, to feel bad, whatever they do. And my goodness, all of us in this room have heard over the years of this new technology or that new technology that's going to wipe out radio. Radio is done. When I first got into the business in 1958, within 12 hours, the guy looked at me and said, "Hey kid, what are you getting into radio for? Don't you know it's going to be dead in 5 years?" That was amazing. Of course, what was looming in our face at that time? TV. And I think, you know, in all the years, I've probably heard 20 or 30 or 40 times about the death of radio coming. And I don't know how that's worked out, but we're all still here today. We're listening to media. At the 5-year mark, I looked around and thought, hey, we're okay, we're still here. What really got me going, though, in 1958 was the relatively new Top 40 format that had been introduced by Todd Storrs and Gordon McClendon, kind of co-invented it, you know, 1,000 miles away from each other, Gordon in Dallas and Todd in Omaha. And I had a mentor in those years by the name of Cactus Jack. Imagine that. And he liked country, but we were playing top 40. But in any case, he was a big Todd Storrs fan. And I heard so many things about Todd Storrs. I never met him. But he passed away, I believe, with cerebral hemorrhage at age 39. And incidentally, if anyone ever wants to read some interesting stuff about the history of Top 40, there's a couple of books on Storrs Broadcasting that goes through the whole thing that are available on Amazon. And I didn't even write any of them, so I'm not. But boy, I'll tell you, I found those exceedingly interesting. Now I guess I got to look at my notes. What do I do next? Well, there's another thing when I was a young kid that I really liked on the radio, and that was Art Linkletter's House Party. Any of you guys remember that show? It was on TV later. And they continued to simulcast it on the radio off the TV into the 1960s. But the reason that I liked it as a little kid was this feature that he did called Kids Say the Darndest Things. And I just couldn't wait to hear that show every day. And what Art would do is ask a question and the kids would answer it. One day he asked this question, and I heard this live on the radio. He said, if you could be anybody in the world, anybody, who would you want to be? One of the kids raises his hand, and he says, I want to be the King of England. And Art said, oh, why would you want to be the King of England? The kid's response was, then I can sleep with the Queen. When I heard that, I darn near hit the ditch. That was like in 1961 or 2. I was still listening to him all those years later from when I was a kid. The local radio station in Wausau, WSAU, was a mighty 250-watter on the second floor of the Leith Furniture Store with the tower on the roof. This was big-time radio. My parents had a music store. WSAU came on the air in 1937. And my mother told me that they were the very first advertiser with that music store on the radio on WSAU in 1937. And I thought, sure. Well, in 1997, we bought WSAU and its sister FM, WIFC. And they saved a lot of stuff at that radio station, including the log from the first day. And there it was, Wright's Music Store. I framed it and hung it in their lobby, and it's still there today in Wausau. There was another interesting thing when we bought WSAU that I never saw before and never seen since. For some reason, the numerous owners of that station over the years saved everything, including the original homemade transmitter from 1937, which we found stored at the current AM transmitter in really pretty good shape. So we cleaned it up and put that in our lobby in Wausau too. You know, today a 250-watt transmitter is one rack wide, maybe a foot high. That thing is pretty darn big, but it still fit in the lobby. We have a big lobby, so that worked out good. But in any case, to me, all the years I've been in the radio business and all the failure of the new media to take us down, and never will as long as we keep programming it good and serving our communities like you can't believe. The only thing that can get radio down is radio itself, if we allow it to happen. And you know, this is a gathering, I think, of America's best programming people who is right in this room today. And I'm just so grateful that I'm able to stand up here and say a few words to you guys. You're the heart of this wonderful business. Thank you to each and every one of you. So going back to that 250-watt beginning that we had, by the way, SAU today is 5,000, no, not 5,000, they're 15,000 a day, 20,000 a night. They're on 550 on the dial. And that's the highest power station on that frequency in America. That's a long ways from 250 to 1,400 alone. But in any case, you know, going back to that first day with that top 40 format, I've rock and rolled through the years to 2016. And here we are, 58 years later. And I'll tell you, I enjoyed every minute of that great ride, all of those years. And I'm just so grateful that I'm able to stand up here today and address you guys for a few minutes. And I want to thank again each and every one of you for your contribution to keeping our wonderful radio the most listened to medium in the United States, probably the world for that matter. Thank you.
I didn't know that I could stand still that long without talking.
You're not talking, I'm wearing a suit.